Well, hello again. Today we're going to try something with hot dogs, and but before we do, I've decided to cook myself some bacon and eggs. I'm kind of hungry. It's early in the morning, and these eggs have been in the refrigerator a little while, so I'm not sure if they're really still good. I mean, they haven't been in there a long time, but I always like to check. If they stay over like 10 days, I always want to check. And the way we do this is we get a glass of water, and if the egg floats, no good. It means it's got air inside of it. The egg should go all the way to the bottom. Let's find out. I'm going to cook a couple of them. Gently does it. Okay, that baby falls all the way to the bottom. Now you have to take that out. Don't put another one in on top. I found out it really doesn't work that well. Dump the water out. Take the egg out. Refill it, and put the next egg in. I had one time. There's not a thing wrong with it. Not a crack, not a hole, anything. Put it in there, and it just floated like a dauber on a fishing pole. I couldn't believe it. That's no good. Alright, egg number 2. Let's see how this one's stuck. It's not stuck. I guess it's okay. I don't know. Alright, let's try this one, see if it works. Oh, that one's okay too. Cool. Time to cook. The next thing is how to crack an egg. And I know that sounds dumb, but believe it or not, there's a proper way to crack an egg. I didn't know it till I don't know how many years I was in life before I figured this one out or found somebody to show me how to do it. My mom used to take an egg and crack it on the edge of a frying pan and put like a slot in it, and it would just run down the side and be all over. That's not the way to do it. You crack an egg on a flat surface. I've seen these guys, they'll crack an egg and with one hand open it up. I could never do that. It's always a big mess for me. So let's see what happens here. There we go. See how it cracked from one side around, all the way around? That's what you want. Alright, let's see if it'll happen with the second one. There again, see it cracks halfway this way, partially that way. Works great. And it's always a good idea to rinse out your eggshells. I've already rinsed the bottom one. I've got them all together here. Rinse it out before putting it in the garbage. Because there's nothing worse than a rotten egg smell. Now this little gas stove has really saved me a lot of electricity. It's just a little old can, I buy these at Walmart. They started out, they used to be like $1 a can, and then people caught on, and of course they raised the price, of course. Well, I stocked up big time. Every time I found a can of these things, a shelf with 4, 5, or 6 in there, I'd grab like 4 of them, and I filled my entire closet in the back. And they just work so good. You put for those of you who've never seen what it is, you take the top off. It's got a little nozzle on the top there. I showed this in a video years ago. And then you just stick it right down in that hole there. So this little booger here, let me show you this here. This little booger here, this little catch thing goes in that slot right there. So we line it up like so, and then shut it, push down the lever, and that pulls the can forward this way and locks it into the gas port. And then we just turn the handle all the way around till it snaps and lights. Pretty cool, huh? You can adjust the flame up and down. Saves me a ton of time and a ton of money. I guess I should mention one more time that I did mention in the previous video I did on this. I put rubber caps. I glued rubber caps on the end of this hard plastic legs, because if you don't, it'll slide all over the stove top. It'll slide everywhere. Bunch of crap. I glued these rubber things on with I think it was epoxy, and I had some that I had collected during my early radio restoration days, and now it won't move. See, hardly moves at all. You got to really push it to get it to move. And whereas before, it just slipped everywhere. The next time we meet to cook something, it'll be in this Korean clay pot. It's called a tukbegi. I think that's the way you pronounce it, tukbegi or stukbegi. And I bought it under another name. It's called a dolsot, D-O-L-S-O-T. And I used it before in another previous video. And you can get them with a lid, without a lid. They come in different sizes. And they sell them on Amazon. They're just cool as can be. And you can also get them with a saucer that you can set them on after you do your cooking. You can cook directly with these pots. You can put them in the oven. You can put them on an open flame. and they'll heat up and they won't crack and break. Now, of course, if you drop them on a hard surface, I imagine it would bust, but they're kind of neat. I think I paid like $23 for this thing years ago, and now it's up over 40. But you know, they're well worth it because they are really, really solid, heavy kind of cooking utensils. You can call them a bowl if you want, but they're really not. Dole salt. I mentioned these, I think a couple of videos ago. These are Korean tongs, and you can do, boy, I tell you, these beat the rubber-coated tip types all to pieces. You can just take a piece of bacon. Look at that. Flip that baby right over. These things are so neat. You can get them on Amazon. I think it's $3 in a pack, and they're just great. I bought the pack of 3, gave one to my granddaughter-in-law, one to someone else. Can't remember who it was, but they're real cheap and they're real good. You know, you probably noticed by now I have a real desire and like for Korean food. It's just I've been around. I've been so many different countries, and of all of them, the Korean food's the best. The variety is what I like. You could eat a different meal in Korea 3 times a day for 2 or 3 years and still never run out of things that are new to eat. And it's so good. This stuff is just so good. I wish I could. If I could live over there, I would, but I can't. You know, it wouldn't be. I'd be so far out of my element overall that eventually it'd be kind of old. I'd have to come back to the States to get a good old-fashioned, decent American cheeseburger. You know, but that Korean food's by far the best. Kimchi. I'm going to make some kimchi either today or tomorrow. I've run out. I got all the ingredients. I'm going to make some more. We'll wrap this up by just throwing a couple of eggs in here. I like cooking my eggs in butter on a very low flame. A lot of people say, well, I can't eat butter. I can't. Okay, that's fine. No problem. Eat what you can eat, and that's all. You know, I've always been one of these types of things. Why can't you eat a little bit? You know, you're not going. I don't think you're going to die if you eat a pat of butter or half a pat. Anyway, let me crank this up just a little bit more. I want a little bit more flame. Not much. And then, of course, my eggs. I like this. See, unbroken eggs. Unbroken yolks. That's what happens when you crack them properly. Almost always, you get unbroken yolks. And I like, you know, over medium. I want the yolks cooking. I mean, the whites cooked and the yolks soft, because I can dip my toast in it. All right, nice, slow, easy cooking. Put some pepper on there. I like a lot of pepper in my eggs. That's all there is to it. I'll tell you, these are going to taste good. I haven't had any eggs for quite a while. I've been using the eggs to cook in, mostly. Put a little bit of salt. Some people put different seasoning on their eggs. Salt and pepper is good enough for me. I'll probably try something different one of these days. Easy does it. Slow and easy cooking. That's the key. That's the key to good cooked eggs. You can't hardly go into a restaurant anymore and say, give me some eggs over medium. They'll come back slimy, they'll come back overcooked, they'll come back with the yolks hard. People just don't know how to do it, and I think a lot of it has to do because they just don't have time. They're trying to take care of, you know, several customers all at the same time, and they're overworking their cooks, which they always do, especially in Waffle House. Those poor people in there, I don't know how they do it. I mean, they're trying to make meals for 10 or 15 people all at the same time. You got to give them credit. I mean, I wouldn't even work in a place like that. Forget that. All right, let's see if I can flip this without messing up the yolks. You want to make sure it's just right before you flip it. And I think we're just about there. That's what you call over medium. See, the yolk is nice and soft, and the white's cooked. All right. Let's get her on the plate here in about another 10 seconds. Alright, let's see how the old yolks fared. Oh, good. Nice, just the way I like them. That's exactly the way I like my eggs. I want the whites cooked and the yolks soft. Alright, let's take a taste here. Not too shabby. Got my little cup of coffee to go with it. Quick and easy breakfast. I was going to cook some fried potatoes, but I decided against it. I'll do that next time. So I'll tell you what, I've got to go pick up the dog at the vet. He had his teeth cleaned this morning, so I need to pick him up, and then I'll come back and we'll hit the hot dog trail. Before we get into actually doing the hot dog thing, I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I don't know if some of you will find it interesting or not. I always did. My dad when I was 11, 12, 13, my dad was a truck driver into New York City. And he used to take me with him once in a while. And he would go down to Manhattan in the garment district. What a nightmare that was. I hated going there. But you know, my old man, you just didn't turn him down. If he says you're going, you're going. I don't know what he was trying to do. I guess he wanted some company. It was awful. It was the worst place I've ever been in my life. So many cars, so many people, congestion everywhere. He'd drive this big truck down through these narrow streets with cars on each side, double parked, and pushed in the garment district. They were constantly running racks of clothes back and forth across the street. I don't know how he did it. They'd go in, they'd unload from their trucks, go across the street with their racks of dresses and who knows what, shirts, suits, and then they'd run them upstairs in these, 4 or 5 story buildings and deliver them, and then bring stuff back and load it in their truck and go, just trying to find a parking space. I don't know how he did it. I could never. It taught me what not to do when I grew up. I never want to see I guess I went down there about 5 or 6 times with him, and I never want to see the Manhattan Garment District ever again. And I never did. Oh, it was just, it takes a strange person to work down there, let me tell you. And I think he was strange for doing it. But a few times on the way home we'd stop in New York City and other areas, and we'd get a hot dog from a hot dog vendor on the side of the street. And they did little push carts, And I just could not understand how those hot dogs tasted that good. At the time they were like 40 cents, I think. And you go up there and you slap the stuff on there. It's just I want a hot dog, and they'd be rattling on. It was just an amazing, amazing hot dog. And I often wondered why other hot dogs never tasted that good. I mean, I barbecued them and grilled them and fried them and everything, microwaved it. Those hot dogs were the best in the world, bar none. So now I know how they did it. And those hot dogs were called dirty water hot dogs. Dirty water hot dogs. And we're going to make some today. Now each of the dirty water hot dog vendors, they had their own way of seasoning the water that they put the hot dogs in. It was kind of a secret little recipe each one of them had. And they would plant their carts in places where there was a lot of traffic. And they still do to this day, although there's not that many. And almost all of them today are not push carts. They'd have these little things they'd hook on and drive them around like small lawn tractor type things. And they move them in during the day, move them out at night. But they would cook these hot dogs in water. And I'll show you what a few of the carts look like. At least one, what it looked like in the past, and then the new ones, what they look like today. Now this is what I'm talking about by a hot dog vendor. And in this case, he happens to be on the Upper East Side in New York City. And it's a father and daughter team. I guess the father works this one, the daughter works this one. They got the American. This is a cart for hot dogs that I could not walk by without buying a hot dog. I would be drawn right to them. And the reason being is they have the American flag posted up there, and above and to the right of that they have Sergeant David Gonzalez, in memory of the United States Marine Corps, who was killed in March of 1970, killed in action. And then they memorialized Lance Corporal John Barnett, also United States Marine Corps, who was killed in action on July 19, 1970. This is really great. I could not resist buying a hot dog from them. But these are now motorized carts, or they're kind of not motorized, but I guess they pull them in they got like a little tractor affair that pulls them. This is your classic hot dog cart from New York City. This is a company that makes it, and they're doing an advertising. These 3 compartments are where you put the hot dogs and different things, I'm not sure. And over here is your condiments. And these are the handles where you push them around on the wheels. And the ones I remember from New York, they were all painted white. This one's stainless steel. But it was essentially the same thing. And you'd go up to the guy, and I'll tell you, they were more than happy to see you. Always had a good time talking to them. They wanted to know where you were from. And they talk a mile a minute while you're getting your hot dog. It's almost like being at a carnival. But that's what the old push carts used to look like, essentially. Now here's one that's from California, Lakewood and Oak Street. I don't know exactly where. Just says California. And of course they're not dirty water hot dogs. They're frying them up differently. The difference between the East Coast and the West Coast. The cart's the same though. See how it's painted white? And it's got the handle for pushing it. So what it boils down to is you can make a dirty water hot dog any way you want. I was not aware of that until, just a few years ago. You can season your water any way you want. Now, you can use chicken broth, you can use vegetable broth, you can use plain water, you can use beef broth, anything you want. What I'm going to do today, I like the idea of putting a little bit of beef broth in there in the water. I'm going to use some of this broth base, just this powder. Just going to put it in there and sample it. I'm going to heat it up first with this and get it to where the powder is melted. I want to taste it, make sure I didn't put too much, too little. Then we're going to add some garlic powder, some bay leaves. Now this is my version, okay? You do it any way you want. We're going to put a little ground nutmeg in there. There's a little bit of cinnamon. Some people put cinnamon in it. It gives it kind of a slight sweet taste. Not much. You don't want to overdo it on any of this stuff. And with cumin. And then we're going to put some onions first. And you put a dash of vinegar. And then we throw our hot dogs in there and we let them simmer for, you can let them simmer for as much as 6, 8, 10 hours. It doesn't matter. So let me fill this thing with some water and get the beef broth in there, and we'll do a few tastes to make sure we got it right. Alright, she's beginning to get warm enough to where it'll melt some of this powder. I'm only going to put about that much. I'm only cooking 2 hot dogs today. I don't want the water to taste completely like beef broth. I just want it to have a tint. That's the way I want it. You can do it any way you want. Let me get a spoon here. I'll kind of stir this up. Then I'll taste it. If I have to pull some of the water out, I will. I just want to have a hint of beef broth. Well, I had to add just a little bit more. It looks dark, but it doesn't really taste that like it's that overwhelmingly beef. Now we put in some onions, and we're going to let that simmer for a while. And then we'll go ahead and add the. You can cut these onions up any way you want, by the way. I wouldn't cut them up. I wouldn't dice them. They're kind of a pain to mess with. They stick all over the hot dogs and everything. But you can quarter them and just throw, 4 pieces in there. You can slice them like I did, chop them up into squares, whatever. I got the rest of the seasoning ready here. I used a half of a teaspoon of garlic powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of all the rest. I've used 1 bay leaf, 1/4 teaspoon of the nutmeg, cinnamon, and cumin. And like I said, if you want to use chicken broth powder, you can. If you want to use broth, liquid broth that you buy at the store, you can use that too. It's entirely up to you. Now we're just going to go ahead and put a quick shot of vinegar in it. Now we'll go ahead and put the spices in, and it's like anything else. You taste it as you go, and if you need to add a little bit more, you set it up to your taste. Doctor it up the way you like it. Now we're just going to let that thing simmer for a while before I put the hot dogs in. Otherwise, if it's really bad to the taste, I'll have to jerk the hot dogs back out. I don't want that to happen. So let's let it sit there and simmer for about 5 minutes and see what it tastes like. Alright, I just tasted it. It needs a little more cumin and it needs some salt. And where the term dirty water hot dog came from on those push carts was after the fats and the oils and the seasoning and everything that the push cart operators would put in the water, it would turn the water. Sometimes those guys wouldn't change the water for a long, long time. The health department finally stopped them from doing that. But they found out that the longer it cooked, the better the hot dogs taste. But the health department didn't care. From now on, I guess I got to change it every other day or something like that. I don't know. But the water took on a a dirty dishwater look after a while, because they didn't put a whole lot of seasoning in because they were there to make money, not waste. And it became affectionately known as I'm going to go out and get a dirty water hot dog because the water looked dirty all the time. So, but I'll tell you what, they sure tasted good. And I've been making these things now for a couple of years for the family, and they all like them. And, you know, I just never can match the way it was in New York City when I was young. But of course, you know, I was really hungry by the time I ate those things, and it was the first time I ate them, and they just tasted so good. So I don't think I'll ever be able to match, you know, that. But I got to put some salt in it right now. I'm going to put some sea salt, not too much, just a little bit. You know, this business about sea salt, well, all salt comes from the sea. You know, to me, that term is like tree wood. No kidding. You think so? Alright, let's take a final test. I think I've got it about right. We'll give it a taste test here. Let me try it. Perfect. Perfect. Now I'm just going to throw the hot dogs in. Remember, you doctor this thing up to your liking. If you want more cumin, you want more salt, you want more garlic. I like a lot of garlic in it, so I added some of that. I added a little more cumin. I just kept, you know, touchy-feely as I went, tasting. The final taste tastes pretty good. So now, we let it simmer. I'm going to let it simmer for about 3 hours. Be sure to add water as necessary. You want to keep the hot dogs covered with water. I'm ready to eat one of those hot dogs. I'm going to eat it now and then eat the other one later tonight. And I want to have a steamed bun to put it on. And the way we do this is we wet a paper towel, put it over the top of the, you know, wet it and then unfold it, put it over the top of the hot dog roll, put it in the microwave for about 10, 12, 13 seconds, and then take it out, and the bun will be nice and steamed and hot. You'll see. Wet the whole thing, wring it out the best you can, and just stick it in the microwave for about 10 seconds or whatever. Let's see what that does. Alright, I kept it in there for 11 seconds. Ooh, she's nice and hot and soft. Oh, the only way to go. Let's get the hot dog in there. Normally I like ketchup on my hot dogs. I know I take a lot of ridiculing over that, but I don't really care. I can handle it. I like what I like, and that's all there is to it. I also like mayonnaise on hot dogs. That's good too, with a little horseradish mixed in. But you know, when I'm eating a hot dog like this, I put a little mustard, and then I use some of this Severn. If you've never had Severn sauerkraut, you do not know what you're missing. You know, you buy that Walmart sauerkraut or any other brand, it is so sour you can't even hardly eat it. But this stuff here is organic, and it is delicious. It's not really sour, but it's got just a hint of it. You can handle it. If you've never tried it, go to Walmart. Next time you're in Walmart, they sell it there. At least they sell it in ours. And you can put a lot of it on there. I mean, when I put this on the table with these dogs, everybody puts it on their hot dogs because it tastes so good. They've got, I think they got little bits of pickle in there too. It's just great. Give it a try, Severn. You'll go back for another jar, guaranteed. Well, that's pretty good. That's exactly the way all of my dirty water hot dogs taste, but not as good as they were in New York City many, many years ago. So, you know, you put some of these Dorito chips with a hot dog and a root beer. We're talking the 3 basic food groups here, people. Until next time, this is John.